Hey, Facebook. We got a pursuit here, northbound 405 West LA. I got to stay frosty. We're probably going to be on the air in just a second. 15 seconds, as I understand it. Just giving you guys the rundown if you guys are just joining us. Pursuit vehicle live in. Well, it's definitely a pursuit, and it's a very dangerous pursuit. Now, you see that vehicle running from officers, stolen vehicle. That's the basics, but apparently they were actually staking this vehicle out. When I say they, I'm talking about law enforcement, LAPD. Started down in the 77th Division area, so South Los Angeles. It was a stolen car, and they were watching it. Basically, they knew this was a stolen vehicle, and they were going to see if somebody came back to pick up that vehicle to make an arrest. Well, somebody did show up, and when they got in that vehicle, they apparently tried to run down officers and maybe even collided with an officer's vehicle. So that makes an assault with a deadly weapon on law enforcement. LAPD was behind this vehicle for quite some time, basically took the streets to get all the way onto the 405, northbound 405, right up north of the downtown, LAX is where this thing got onto the freeway. Right now, we're just getting up on the Sepulveda Pass. Helicopter above, that's going to be the LAPD helicopter. The vehicle behind it, that's going to be LAPD 77th Division. So they're kind of out of their area. They are talking about perhaps giving it back to the California Highway Patrol because it's on the freeway. But this person, this driver, this suspect, apparently making that stunt where he tried to run over an officer with that vehicle, well, that kind of changes the game. It's not just a stolen vehicle. This is a dangerous suspect that apparently tried to injure a law enforcement officer. So they're probably not going to give this thing up. Where are we right now? We're probably just entering the Brentwood area, northbound 405. You can see that officer just passing the Getty right now. This guy actually starting to use some of the emergency lanes out here. He could, because he's way off on the right. He might be getting off the freeway here. We're going to keep an eye on it, but this pursuit continuing now, making its way into the Sepulveda Pass. Well, you know, his option, Elsa, if you're asking me, would just be just pull over, put your hands up, and let the officers take you into custody, and then work out whatever the problem was later on. Right now, though, this person choosing not to. I do understand your question, though. What are the off-ramps? You know, that's actually a really great question also, because if we're in the Sepulveda Pass, a lot of these off-ramps will take us off onto these windy roads out here, Mulholland, Sunset Drive, and roads like that. Right now, though, he's way off on the right, and he hasn't taken any of those off-ramps. Sepulveda Boulevard is going to be one of the ones where he could get off right now. I'm keeping these tight shots right here, just kind of seeing where he's going. You can see LAPD right behind him there, and of course, every time we pass one of those off-ramps, especially because he's off on the right, I'm kind of wondering that. If he gets off and starts driving on those windy roads, that could change up the game again. You can see more officers now joining the chase. I got to double check and make sure that check and see if these are going to be California Highway Patrol. But because of the seriousness of the crime, not it being a stolen vehicle, but this driver actually using that vehicle trying to run down law enforcement early on, I find it hard to believe that LAPD is just going to hand this off to another agency. This pursuit's going to go. Hopefully it's going to end peacefully. Right now, though, you can just see him passing one of the Bel Air areas. So we are north of Getty, still making our way up that hill. So we'll see if he tries to get off the freeway or just kind of open it up when he starts heading back down. Traffic's light this evening. This is a very dangerous suspect. LAPD, they want to take this guy into custody. That is quite a distance, Juan. And you can see some damage on that vehicle. Now, it would kind of be a leap for me to say that that's the damage from this attempt to run down an officer. We don't know that for a fact. I was actually looking at the car, trying to see if there's any like heavy damage, like broken lights in the front or the back. There's only that big dent over there that seems to be on the driver's side. So we don't know for a fact. This is what we're hearing. We're just kind of passing that along. That's all still kind of a maybe. They're going to sort that out later on. But these officers, they're not going to let this up. They're going to stay with this vehicle because of the seriousness of the crime. Where are we right now? We're just making our way down that hill now. That's down on the through the Sepulveda Pass, 405. Anybody that drives this, you're probably just like me looking at it right now going, where are all the cars? It doesn't seem that any time of night you come through here, there's always a little bit of traffic. Right now, though, seems to be almost wide open. A couple of big rigs out there driving a little bit slower. Speeds out here this evening, whoop, he's probably going about 70, 80 miles an hour. Traffic's been light. We've only saw one crazy maneuver where he's taking that emergency lane. LAPD, they are the primary in this pursuit, and is continuing on. The 101 is coming up. He might take that. We don't know. We are just along for the ride, observers of what's going on. But these law enforcement, they are a little bit more serious about this evening. They want this guy in custody. Obviously, that type of dangerous crime where they're going to injure an officer. But again, you have to think that this was a stolen vehicle. Law enforcement, they were watching it. They wanted to see if somebody was going to come back and pick it up, and this person did. So these guys doing their job this evening, I can tell you just from the picture right now, looks like we're passing the 101. We're going to be established on the 405.
May have used the car as a deadly weapon and potentially used it to try to strike an LAPD officer earlier on in this pursuit. So it looks like Stu, right now we are continuing along the 405, and now we're approaching that 101-405 split here.
That's right. We're actually past that. We're actually passing Burbank. That's going to be Burbank Boulevard right there. Elsa, very elegantly put. That is pretty much exactly the tactics that LAPD are discussing right now. They're going to follow this pretty much till it comes to an end. They do have some tricks up their sleeve if they have the opportunity to put them into motion. A pit maneuver, though, probably not one of them, especially not on the freeway, even at these relatively lower speeds. I say that looking down and saying that we are going about 70 miles an hour. He keeps hugging that right lane, and that always kind of makes me think that perhaps he's going to be getting off the freeway. Haven't seen that yet. He kind of works his way back over into those center lanes. Sky 9 this evening, we got Brennan at the tiller. He's keeping us a little ahead of that pursuit, so it gives us a different angle as we watch this car passing some of those exotic cars that you only see here in Los Angeles. But that car driving the speed limit this evening, and it just continues on out here, passing Sherman Way, or excuse me, that's probably going to be Victory right there. Sherman Way is going to be coming up, but this car just continues on northbound 405. Haven't seen anything too crazy since it's gotten on the freeway. LAPD, this is it to them, to everybody out there. If this person's willing to take those type of chances to get away from law enforcement using that vehicle as a deadly weapon, this person could do something worse to just the public at large. So right now we're just continuing on. We're going to keep an eye on it. LAPD in pursuit. This car continuing northbound, entering the San Fernando Valley. Sherman Way is going to be the next off-ramp. And we are continuing to see this pursuit unfold there. If you're just joining us right now, I'll let you know that this is a stolen car that officers with the 77th Division had been watching for a while. They were waiting for somebody to return to it sometime this evening, and actually somebody did.
Stu, it looks like they're getting off the freeway. Is that right?
It's on the scanner. I'm sorry, Juan. I was working with my pilot. They actually just switched to attack channel. We are exiting here at Sherman Way. You can see that vehicle making that big sweeping turn. Going to take a look, see what we got for traffic at the bottom. Looks like it's wide open. It looks like we're going to be heading westbound on Sherman Way. So back underneath the freeway. Now these slower speeds, they might be able to do the pit maneuver. LAPD, almost all their officers are qualified for that. Looks like we're making a turn on the Haskell. This could be one of those ones where we just get back on the freeway and start heading south again. That's going to be Haskell right there. I know the on-ramp is coming up, and it does look like he's slowing down to get back on the on-ramp. So it does appear we're just doing that, getting off, getting back on. Now we're going to be heading southbound on the 405. This destination, you know, to him, he's probably thinking it's unknown. For everybody else watching, I'm guessing he's going to wind up probably spending the night in jail tonight. But hopefully, that's going to be the best scenario ending. You can see the helicopter above. That's going to be LAPD. A number of LAPD officers behind it on the 405 freeway. Now southbound from Sherman Way. Van Nuys is going to be the city. Burbank's going to be the next off-ramp. But we're going to keep an eye on this stolen vehicle. But this suspect actually attempted to injure officers when he started to flee with that vehicle.
You know, Stu, it's almost a little bit of a relief that this driver decided to get back on the freeway because, as you know, it becomes way more problematic, way more moving parts when the driver leading police on pursuit starts to drive erratically on surface streets. You get pedestrians involved, you get other cars going through intersections involved, and we know, we have seen many times, these drivers leading police on pursuits don't stop for stop signs and stop for intersections or red lights. So it becomes much more problematic. Tonight seems to be a very open and clear night, which is very rare on the 405 freeway in either direction, almost at any time of day or night. So for now, this seems to be at least the safer option as far as innocent victims are concerned. Stu, what does the traffic look like ahead of this driver now heading southbound on the 405 freeway?
Well, also the traffic seems to be pretty wide open, and with this pursuit happening, there won't be anybody coming up behind him, I can guarantee you that. Going about 70 miles an hour, now we're going to be southbound on the 405. And also, again, excellent observation. It's kind of a give and take. When he's on the surface streets, it does become much more dangerous for the public at large. As you said, other vehicles on the road, stop signs, and then officers, they have to heighten their, not that they're not heightened right now, but they have to be even more careful and more considerate and think about safety for the public at large when they're on the streets. But then again, sometimes there are a little bit slower opportunities. This makes those crazy turns. The officers can get closer, and maybe they'll be able to use a pit and also other tools that are in the LAPD's, let's just say, bag to stop these pursuits from happening. When they're on the freeway, does seem to be a little bit safer, especially when they're not driving at those insane speeds that we've seen in the past. This person seems to be picking like a good 75, 80 miles an hour and just right now center lanes and just chugging along. Is the idea to go back to where he came from? We've seen that in the past. We just never really know, and I think that's one of the reasons why everybody seems to get glued to these. We want to know, where's this guy going? How's it going to end? It's kind of that cat and mouse deal going on. Right now, though, this suspect is a little bit more dangerous than most. They used that vehicle trying to harm law enforcement officers when this thing started. It is a stolen vehicle. That's confirmed. LAPD was actually watching that car parked someplace with nobody in it, and they do that from time to time to see perhaps somebody's going to come back to pick up the stolen vehicle. This case, this driver did, this suspect did, and when officers approached, he used that vehicle as a weapon against those officers. There's been some talk that there was actually a collision. We don't know that for fact yet. We'll wait and see how this comes out in the end. Right now, though, LAPD in force behind them, a number of vehicles. You can see the law enforcement right there. One helicopter above. They're using their light. They probably won't go into tracking mode because of the seriousness of the crime. And right now, this person driving relatively, shall I even say sane? I feel odd saying that because it is a pursuit. Middle lanes, southbound 405, working our way back up the Sepulveda Pass. Going to keep an eye on it. You can see a light inside that vehicle right now, perhaps a cell phone. Maybe he's watching along, but I hope not. And if he is, we're just telling him, just pull over, put your hands up, let the legal system sort this all out. But you can definitely see a light on inside that vehicle. Perhaps he's reaching out to somebody right now. Or maybe he's even using some sort of navigation. But this pursuit continuing, northbound 405, climbing into the Sepulveda Pass.
And Stu, when you give us this closer-up shot, we can see that left rear fender there dented. You were saying that this driver tried to run down officers. And also I saw the right-hand indicator light on the back go on for just a second there. I don't know if that was on purpose or if he was just switching lanes safely. But there are several factors. There he goes. Now he's putting the indicator on the left-hand side. Traffic is light. He is staying at average speeds, and heading southbound on the 405 freeway now. I can only imagine traffic could get a little heavier, especially once he gets past Sunset onto the west side where traffic normally is heavy no matter what time of day.
Sure, when he starts heading towards LAX, possibly if he makes it down that far. But it is kind of odd, Juan, that this person is leading police on a pursuit, possibly used this car as a deadly weapon and allegedly attacked an officer with this car, but then they're using their signals to change lanes. It really doesn't make any sense, but again, sometimes these pursuits just don't make sense at all. What we do know right now is that the LAPD from the 77th Division is continuing their pursuit on this vehicle, and as Stu said, it's not likely that they are going to give this pursuit up, considering the fact that naturally, when somebody's leading police on a pursuit, it puts the public at risk. But now this driver may have already proven that they really don't care if they do hit someone or not, if they really did, in fact, use this car to try to run down an LAPD officer. They're not going to let go of this one. Right now, Stu is telling us the car is going about 70 to 80 miles per hour. And Stu, is that driver still maintaining relatively that speed?
Well, I can tell you, Brennan and Sky 9, and piloting Sky 9 this evening, definitely maintaining a pretty solid speed, 75 miles an hour. And we're tracking it. We're not moving the camera around that much, so I can tell you that driver probably going about 75, 77 miles an hour. LAPD, they're right behind it. That light keeps coming on down there. The driver, probably one of the more courteous pursuit drivers that we've seen in a while, using turn signals every time he's changing lanes. Hopefully, it would be nice to think that that's embedded in him, just a natural emotion. I mean, I know my wife gets on me for not using my turn signals as much as I should. This guy seems to be doing it. And again, we're saying male. It could be a female driver. We haven't heard any description of the person behind the wheel. LAPD, they have the helicopter above. They're going to have that light on it every now and then. You can see it flickering right there. They want to bring this thing to an end peacefully. Even though this person most likely use that vehicle to try to harm other law enforcement officers, they really just want to take this guy into custody, get this person off the road, and perhaps even that vehicle, we know that vehicle returned to its rightful owner. The pursuit kind of speeding up a little bit right now, perhaps maybe because we're getting down to the bottom of the hill, getting into about the 80-mile-an-hour range. But LAPD right behind them. We're going to be southbound 405 freeway. That's going to be Sunset that we saw right there. We haven't seen this guy make any efforts to get off the freeway except for that one time up at Sherman Way. This time he's basically hugging that center lane, making our way southbound. I can tell you when he got on, I believe he got on at La Tijera. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the on-ramp that he used. So perhaps we'll see if we make our way back over there. Maybe he's going to just try to make his way back to where this started. But right now, LAPD in pursuit. This is a assault with a deadly weapon. Suspect driving a stolen vehicle.
Yeah, if he is heading to La Tijera, I think he has like maybe 10 or 15 more minutes at this speed to get to that location. So we may be seeing what's going to happen there. I've got to say, I was out earlier today, Elsa, and I did notice traffic was light. This may be a result of spring break still happening for a lot of the students in the area. People are home or out of town, and traffic, I noticed, was light. We're seeing it light here on the west side on the 405 freeway, southbound, and if there's any silver lining to this, it's the fact that he is staying on the freeway. He is staying, we assume it is a man, at or below average speeds, and that basically he's staying, like I mentioned, traffic is light. So we'll see what happens here.
You know, potentially the impact will be minimal here, continuing this pursuit on the freeway, only because, Juan, it is unusually light right now on the 405, as we'we've seen. This driver lead police on a pursuit from the 77th Division there in South L.A. all the way over to Van Nuys. Turn around, get back on the freeway, and start heading southbound on the 405 again. And here we are doing one big giant loop on the 405 freeway. But again, unusually light traffic. This is, as we've seen many times, can be problematic for many reasons. One, because the driver could continue on and on and on and keep this pursuit going on. But also because it just gives them a wide open space to keep this going from city to city to city. And depending on how much gas they have, who knows how long this can go on.
And another factor, Stu, that we need to think about too as well as you approach LAX, wouldn't that be a problem as well?
Oh, Juan, you read my mind. Hey, that's exactly what we were thinking about. As we're getting our way closer to LAX's airspace, I can feel Brennan actually bringing the helicopter higher and higher up. I actually got to tell you, we're going to be looking practically straight down on him in just a minute or two. But if they do get into the LAX's airspace, it's kind of a question. We don't know what the tower is going to allow us to do, and you know, it's not just us, even law enforcement. The FAA, they work with a different set of rules. They have a number of officers behind them right now, so they may just let it go, like the helicopter may just let it go for a moment or two. We might have to find our own way around it. But that seems to be the plan. I know Brennan is just telling me right now he's going to start talking to LAX, try to figure it out. Now, he did get on at La Tierra, so if he gets off at La Tierra, we might actually kind of be able to follow, maybe at a distance, but we'll keep an eye on it. Of course, you know, we want to see how this thing ends just as bad as anybody else, so we're going to keep that camera on it the best we can. Right now, though, we're still moving southbound on the 405 freeway. I'm looking out the window. I see the 91 coming up. And I'm sorry, the 90 coming up. I always get those turned around. So we're getting into the Fox Hills area. I can tell you Sky 9's not going to be able to get much farther than that location unless the airspace is opened up for us. But I can look out the window. I see aircraft on approach, so I find it difficult to believe LAX is just going to allow us to tromp around in there, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
All right, if you're just joining us in this pursuit, this started when the LAPD was keeping an eye on a car that they suspected was stolen. What they wanted to do was see who came to that car while they were staking it out. Someone did come to the car, and then a pursuit began. They started pursuing this stolen vehicle. They were going to arrest the person who arrived at that car to drive it. That never happened. It turned into a pursuit. We're also told that possibly in the early stages of this pursuit, this person driving the stolen vehicle allegedly used that car to try to run down an LAPD officer. This now became, at that point, much more serious and turned into not only a stolen vehicle situation in pursuit, but assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer. So at that point, police were not going to give up on this driver and allow this driver to just get away and maybe pick them up at some other point. This has now become a very dangerous situation. The driver has proven to officers and those on the road that they are willing to do what they need to do to engage in this pursuit and get away, and that includes possibly deliberately trying to hit an LAPD officer with a car. Right now, the freeway is wide open, as you can see. The patrol cars are keeping a pretty good distance, but they're making their presence known. This is good, at least for the reason that this driver is not putting other people on surface streets in danger, but continuing the pursuit on the freeway where it seems to be wide open and the impact would be minimal if something happened here. But if they got down onto the surface streets, again, we've talked about that before, many moving parts, pedestrians, intersections, stoplights, stop signs, which we've seen many times. These drivers do not obey at all.
Yeah, let's definitely hope that he does stay on the freeway, because that is the safest option for everybody. And You have to think and appreciate, my goodness, from South Los Angeles to the west side onto the northbound 405 freeway for quite a distance before he turned around at Sherman Way and made his way back onto the southbound 405 freeway. We have our Stu Mundell live in Sky 9 above it all. He's been tracking it, but as you notice, our shot sometimes gets a little wider, a little further away, and that's because this car in this pursuit is heading closer and closer to the LAX area, and of course there is a no-fly zone for many helicopters, including media and police, as Stu was telling us. So there's a distance that we need to keep from the airport for safety's sake, and it's something that the FAA mandates from everybody there. But you can see the pursuit continuing with at least 5 patrol cars behind it.
Stu, what are the options for police right now? We've talked about what they can and can't do while they're engaged in a pursuit on the freeway at speeds of 70 to 80 miles per hour plus right now to stop this car.
Well, you know, Elsa, right now I just got to throw this out there. Brennan, the professional that he is, you know, he's challenging me right now. He's just saying, you know what, I'm a professional pilot, you be a professional cameraman, and keep that car in your sight as we're crossing. Actually, we're going to be crossing over the center of LAX, and I'm shooting out to this, way out to what they call the 9 o'clock position right now, out over towards the 405. You know, the 405 drops down a little bit in spots, so we'll lose the car every now and then, but I'm looking for those flashing lights out there, so I kind of know where the actual police cars are. We might not be able to see the car the entire time, but we can see where the officers are, like right there. They're popping back up. So right now we have just crossed over the center of LAX's the airport, basically flew over the terminals, now making that turn heading back over to the 405. Just so you know, and everybody else knows as well, even the airship, even the police helicopter had to make that same type of maneuver. So we're all working it together out there. I can tell you the 105 is coming up, but it does seem like he's staying in that same center lane, and we're working our way closer to that pursuit again. And as for what they can do, that's a real tough one. Right now, I always kind of wonder. The interaction between the law enforcement and the suspects has always been very, let's say, arm's length. The only time we don't see that is during the pit maneuver. We'll see them do the spike strips. We'll let them we'll watch these guys usually run out of steam, hopefully not collide with somebody else, and maybe just get desperate and basically damage the vehicle and bring it to a stop. For the most part, we've usually seen these pursuits come to an end very peacefully and without any type of major incident. LAPD right now, their plan, I can tell you, is they're going to stay behind it. That's it. They're going to keep behind that vehicle and kind of keep an eye on it. They've got a number of vehicles there, and that is because they don't know how this is going to end. If they gets off the freeway, there's an accident, the guy gets out and runs, they'll have a number of officers out there. Is this person, we know he's a car thief, we know he used that vehicle to try to harm a law enforcement, perhaps he has a weapon. Those are the reasons why they have so many of the officers out there. Southbound 405 now, well past the LAX area. Brennan, I think I did my challenge well. We didn't lose the car at all. And we're continuing now. We're going to start heading into the Hawthorne, Torrance area. LAPD still right behind this vehicle. Helicopter above, and then a number of law enforcement vehicles behind it. Stolen vehicle. And this person, before that pursuit started, actually tried to harm a law enforcement officer while trying to get away with that car.
You both are doing an amazing job. For a minute here, I thought we would lose the chase because you were at quite a distance. Stu, can you explain to viewers, we were talking about that area around the airport you can't fly around. Did you get a temporary permission to cut through, or how did that work?
What we do all the time, Juan, is I understand we got to switch, but what we do is we fly across LAX. We talked to the tower. Brendan talks to the tower and asks permission, and they basically, it's a mother may I almost, but in aircraft type of situations. He asked permission, and they allow us to cross over the center of the airport. That's the safest spot for air traffic passing over, and that's how we did it. We used the camera, the mighty power of Sky 9's lens, to keep an eye on it on the 405, and then we basically just joined it. We came back over to the 405. I've got to go. We're going to be on CBS 2 here in just a moment.
Yes, Stu, go ahead and go. We know you have to prepare for our sister station newscast here, CBS 2 News at 11, to continue the coverage of this police pursuit of a stolen vehicle. The pursuit started earlier this evening when the LAPD was watching. The LAPD out of the 77th Division was watching what they believe was a stolen vehicle. They were waiting for someone to approach the vehicle so that they could make the arrest. We're told by LAPD that the person who approached the vehicle got in the car, and as they were trying to get away, narrowly missed striking or possibly struck an LAPD officer. This then turned into not only a stolen vehicle pursuit or a pursuit, this turned into an assault with a deadly weapon, possibly, if that driver did intend to hit that police officer that was approaching the vehicle to find out what was going on. This driver has taken the police officers from South L.A. all the way up to Van Nuys, back in a big loop, again through the west side one more time, and now here we are past LAX. We're passing through Hawthorne, and we're continuing this pursuit south on the 405 freeway on an unusually clear night on the freeway tonight.
This driver has had many things in his favor. Number one, you can see there, we've been watching this pursuit unfold. Very light traffic on this Monday night. Also, the driver has been keeping at pretty average speeds there, and he has stayed on the freeway for the most part. There was only that.
We have a lot of awesome producers, but she's going to be the awesome producer for the 11 o'clock. Anyway, stolen vehicle. This was a surveillance that went sideways in a way, where, you know, this guy came back to take the stolen car. It was being watched by LAPD, and when he got in it, he tried to run down officers and may even have crashed into a police car trying to get away. For the Facebookers out there, yeah, we were listening. I was listening to it originally on the emergency channel. I thought it was an accident, but then it all kind of made sense. Go ahead, Lizzie. Lizzie doesn't want me to talk. Well, southbound 405 is where we're right now, and for everybody just joining us, thank you for that. This is a stolen vehicle, started about ago, or right in that area, and it's a stolen vehicle, but there's a little bit to that. Officers from LAPD were actually watching this car. It was stolen and it was parked, and there was nobody around it, but they were keeping an eye on it, seeing if the person that had stolen it was going to come back to pick it up, and that person did. That suspect got in the vehicle. When officers approached it, this guy in the car tried to run down officers trying to get away. There possibly was a collision with that car and an officer's vehicle, and then the pursuit was on. It got on the freeway right about La Tierra northbound on the 405 earlier on. We made it all the way up to the Sherman Way exit where the suspect got off, turned around, and then started coming southbound. Right now, though, we're going to be a 405 southbound, Gardena area. I can tell you we're probably coming up on the 91 right now. They just passed Crenshaw Boulevard, but the speed's about 70 miles an hour. LAPD, they got the helicopter above. They've got a number of cars behind them. They're not going to let this one go because of the seriousness of the incident, meaning this person used that vehicle to possibly harm an officer in the commission of a crime. That's a stolen vehicle. So right now we have this pursuit. We haven't seen anything too crazy, but the pursuit hasn't stopped. LAPD, they just want to bring this to an end peacefully. That driver continues to drive southbound now as we're working our way past the Crenshaw off-ramp and working our way over to the 91 freeway.
Okay, well, certainly he's past that La Tierra on-ramp where we first watched this chase, too. And I'm just wondering, I caught it when he was on the northbound 405, headed towards Sherman Way, and then he happened to turn around. I believe it was at Haskell, and then ended up back on the southbound freeway. Haven't noticed the police do anything in terms of what they could possibly do, pit maneuver, spike strips, that sort of thing yet. What do you think they're waiting on?
Well, Pat, before I answer that, just let me get something clear. I'm sorry about this. We're approaching the 110 freeway.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear. We're 4 or 5 approaching the 110. Their bag of tricks this evening is kind of limited in the fact that this car is on the freeway. It's going freeway speeds. There is a possibility that they might be able to set up something with spike strips. But to do that, they'd actually have to get another law enforcement agency, meaning California Highway Patrol, involved. And that's one of the things right now. LAPD, they're holding on to this. They're just using their LAPD units. So can they get another officer or another LAPD unit in position in time? I don't think so. I got to tell you, it looks like we're going to be transitioning here. He's pulling way off to the right, so I'm guessing this is going to be the 110 freeway. Let's see if he goes northbound or southbound. But that's one of the reasons why that basically what they can do right now is just follow at a safe length, distance, use their lights and sirens, try to warn the public. Little bit of a wild maneuver there. That's one of the first ones we've seen. Actually went across that gore point. We'll get an accurate where he's going exactly. I know that's the transition. Northbound 110, I believe, is where we're going to be going right now. Going to make that big sweeping turn. But right now, not a lot of traffic, and the speeds for that car have been about freeway speeds. Well, let's just say what most people drive on the freeways, and right about in the 70s. At one point, we saw him get into the 80 mile an hour, but nothing too extreme. You can see that officer right there, that LAPD vehicle, that big 12 on the trunk. That's actually the division. That's the area where that vehicle patrols in, and that's going to be 77th Division. That's going to be the South Los Angeles area, and that's where this thing started earlier on. It was on the streets for some time, got itself onto the freeway, and basically he's been on that freeway ever since. They have a helicopter above. They have that unit that we see right there right behind him. And then as I get a little bit wider, you can see a number of other officers from LAPD there as well. They're grouping up like that because we don't know how this is going to end. Hopefully it's going to be something peaceful, but if something goes sideways and there's a problem, more officers, the better to help out. Right now, it seems to be center lanes. We're going to be northbound 110 freeway, which you saw the signs right there as well as I did. 91 is where we're going to be passing here in a minute, but he seems like he's staying in that center lane. Stolen vehicle, assault with a deadly weapon with that vehicle on a law enforcement officer, and basically a tour of the valley, South Los Angeles, and now it looks like we're going to be going northbound on the 110 heading towards downtown, but that's quite a distance away.
That's right. Right now we see the graphic there that this vehicle is in the Carson area. And interesting, Stu, I mean, we've said the LAPD has been watched that car for some time, and then the suspect showed up, tried to take off, and allegedly tried to run over an officer, so he's just racking up charges. That's assault with a deadly weapons charge. A lot more than stolen vehicle, that's for sure. Eluding police. It seems to be getting more and more as this continues. But as you mentioned, it seems that he's driving at a normal amount of freeway speed, nothing too erratic or overly fast right now. And apparently, the traffic has seemed relatively light.
The traffic has been very light this evening, and that's a huge plus. Just something that we're pointing out right now. It does appear that rear window is broken. Earlier on, I saw some odd there. You can see that shimmering right there. I don't know if that's a piece of plastic over that, or perhaps the window was broken at an earlier time, but just kind of pointing that out. That might have been, maybe that was the way they got into that vehicle to begin with. It is a stolen vehicle, though, Pat, and that is something that, that's what brought law enforcement to that car. They were keeping an eye on it. LAPD, what can they do right now? Well, they want this to come to an end, like you mentioned earlier on, and that's the thing. They just want this guy to pull over and just go into custody. Any type of charges for that guy trying to get away, probably not anything he wants to hear or think about, and that might be one of the reasons why he just continues to run. I am definitely not any kind of psychologist, but we've seen enough of these and we've wondered enough about what's going on. Now, northbound 110 freeway will get you an off-ramp here in just a second. I can tell you that he's coming up on the 105 very quickly. this car just continues to drive. He's using the blinkers. That's something that we rarely see in any type of pursuit. So let's just say he's a courteous bad guy. That's the best I can do with that. The officers, though, they're not going to ding him for changing lanes without a blinker. They're looking for the big ones, and that's when he tried to hurt a fellow officer with that car. So that's what they're keeping in mind right now. The felony evading, that's probably going to be on that list as well. But LAPD, they just want this to come to an end peacefully and safely. That's even for the bad guy. The law enforcement, they don't want to see that guy get hurt either. They just want this to come to an end. Speed's slowing down, which is a little unusual. I'm wondering if he's trying to decide where he's going, or maybe that car might be starting to run out of fuel. We don't know. We're going to keep an eye on it. But law enforcement, they're keeping a sharp eye on it right now. A number of officers behind it and a helicopter above it.
That's for sure, and we can't say enough, Stu, that the officers do their best to try to end this as peacefully as they can, and they don't start out on a night to catch someone and try to have them come to some kind of harm. No one has been hurt, fortunately, so far in this incident, so they're just trying to get this guy to stop, pull over, because there is no other choice, really, that this person has. But police are not going to make any moves that would endanger the public or themselves or even this driver, apparently, and that's just the way they operate. Just want to add, too, when you said LAPD is holding on to this, they would, or they were able to ask CHP to join in. Am I correct? I mean, they would have to ask another agency to join in. If they don't, then this is their baby.
That's exactly how it works. All the law enforcement in Southern California, they all work together, and it is a very polite type of situation where they basically just keep, they will inform other agencies that they are coming into the area. They'll let, they'll ask permission to let somebody take it over. And what we were talking about earlier on, we're on the California highway. So they could have offered it up to the Highway Patrol. Highway Patrol, they didn't do it in this case because of the fact that this is a person that tried to injure a fellow law enforcement, LAPD officer, and that's one of the reasons why they didn't give it up. Had they given it up, perhaps they would be able to use the spike strips. We just don't know. All that type of policy stuff, that's well above our pay grade here in the helicopter. So we're just keeping an eye on it along with LAPD, following it along. This officer, that vehicle that's behind it right there with that big 12 on the trunk, he's been behind it pretty much since the inception of this chase. So that car has been right there behind him, lights and sirens, warning the public what's going on, trying to get this guy just to calm down and pull over. That hasn't happened yet. The chase continues. This person just biding time, keeping officers at bay. You can read the sign just as well as I. We're coming up on Manchester right now. And officers from LAPD, they're chasing this guy, but it isn't just a stolen vehicle. When that incident happened, where the officers approached that vehicle and this guy tried to run them down, that's when everything changed up. And this is one of the reasons why LAPD staying with this one, keeping that light on it, keeping the officers behind it, and for the most part, we've been staying on the freeway, which keeps the public a little bit safer. But nevertheless, this is a dangerous suspect that they want in custody. Yeah,
you're absolutely right about that, Stu. It could be a totally different story if this person decided to start going on surface streets where you would have possibly people still being out in a residential neighborhood. Streets, of course, more closer together than a freeway. Well, I should say freeways this evening, and freeways that have been pretty much wide open for the most part. And that's certainly not something that you normally see in Los Angeles, even at this time of night. I know it's spring break for some of the school districts, but it's still rather light traffic, which is kind of surprising.
Well, I don't know if they've ever coined that phrase, but we definitely have pursuit traffic. It seems like whenever there's a chase going on, the traffic seems to just get wide open, and these cars just get to do what they want to do. In this case, it seems to be the same thing. Very light traffic ahead. There are some cars on the freeway, but it does seem like he's just kind of moving along. We don't want to. Every time we kind of start giving away things that we're picking up on, some of the public gets a little upset. I always get a little sketchy with this, but I'm just letting you know, officers from LAPD, they're not just going to let this thing run out. They're not just going to, they are trying to do something to get this thing to stop. Earlier on, when we were in the Hawthorne area, the spike strips, not really viable because LAPD doesn't really cover that area and to get an officer in position and etc. But now that we're back in the LAPD's area, LAPD can lean on other LAPD officers perhaps to do something to get involved. Also, they're checking on checking on who this guy is, what they might know about him, and that could open up a couple of other doors for the LAPD to try to bring this thing to an end besides just following it like we have been. There's that blinker again, so you know he's not going to get dinged for that. But we're continuing on the center lanes out here, approaching Vernon, getting very close to downtown Los Angeles again. Speeds are very freeway-ish is the only word I can come up with. 65 miles an hour. That's what we're doing here in Sky 9 this evening. So, excuse me, Sky 2. So we're just going to keep an eye on it. We've got LAPD down there. They got the helicopter above it. And right now, they might be trying to put together a plan to bring this to an end and just not follow it to the end.
Well, you know, certainly you and Brennan, I know Brennan is at the patrols, the controls tonight. You've done an excellent job as this vehicle passed through LAX airspace, and you managed to pick it back up when he got in the Gardena area. So I'm just trying to think of some of the alternatives that this guy has right now, Stu, just in terms of where he could exit, if he can get on another freeway. I know you mentioned the 105 is in view. Is that a possibility?
The 105 we passed quite a while back, and we're coming up on the 10 freeway. And, you know, I just got to throw this out there. The Los Angeles freeway system, if it wasn't clogged up with cars, you could get anywhere in record time. I'm just letting you know. It's when you get all that traffic going on, that's when these freeways, they really start to bog down, and it just seems like it takes forever. The 10 freeway is definitely coming up. If he stays on the 110, we're going to wind up getting up into the Arroyo area, windy. But this guy hasn't done anything too crazy this evening. He's just kind of been trucking along. He's been using the center lanes. One point we did see him jump over a medium. One point we saw him get into the emergency lane, but he hasn't been, you know, it's just been those momentary I'm just trying to get away type of situations. LAPD though, they just want this thing to come to an end. Their attitude towards this is like I said, they're going to try to figure it out, you know, if they can figure out more about this guy, how dangerous he is, and then they might actually have some other options to bring this to an end. Approaching the 10 freeway now, getting up very close to it. So what we might see downtown here in a few moments in the shots, LAPD helicopter above and LAPD officers on the ground. And this pursuit continues, 110 northbound, approaching the 10 freeway. Okay,
yeah, I see we have the graphic up there, Exposition Park, and if they get on the 10 freeway, they could actually be heading back westbound. That certainly is a possibility. Again, Stu, you mentioned that the LAPD is not going to let this go. They're going to continue to follow this, but they do also have an option of calling in the CHP if they want to, where spike strips or some kind of pit maneuver could possibly be rendered by CHP if they feel it necessary.
Well, most definitely. LAPD has been staying behind it. It does look like we are taking a transition road right here. I'm not sure if that's going to be, it's going to be the freeway. So he's definitely transitioning onto the 10. This is first time we've seen him use the 10 freeway this evening. He had a couple of opportunities in the past. It does look like he's favoring, it looks just from the bend, is going to be the westbound, and LAPD right behind him out there. You know, not just the California Highway Patrol. There we go. As soon as we say west, it looks like he's going to be taking. Oh, it is the westbound. It's not just the California Highway Patrol, but also the LAPD. They are pit maneuver qualified, so they could use that pit maneuver. Are they going to use it on the freeway at the freeway speeds? Probably not. But they want this to come to an end, and they want it to come to an end in a place where they know the public is not going to be in harm's way. They want it to come to an end in a place where they know that property won't be damaged, and of course also in a way where that suspect will be relatively safe as well. Even though they have committed these crimes against fellow officers, they still have the safety of everybody on their mind. Right now, though, we're well established on the 10 freeway westbound, so we're going to be moving away from the downtown area. He has a lot of options out here. He could dip on any of the majors, La Brea, Crenshaw, Vermont,
yeah,
even.
Western.
So it's just going to keep on moving.
You know, I don't want to make light of this, but it's almost like he is taking a tour, so to speak. He has been on the 405 freeway, northbound, southbound, downtown Los Angeles. Now he's heading westbound on the 10. It's almost as if he's, I don't want to say joyriding, but sort of taking his time and using some of the routes available to him as far as freeways are concerned, especially, to just continue until, I guess, officers catch up with him, or, as you say, he could possibly run out of gas or just decide at that moment in time, well, okay, I guess I'm going to give up now.
Pat, probably it's just what we're seeing is he's using these last moments of his own decisions. Once he goes into custody, his options are going to be very limited. So right now he has the choice where he can say, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, these guys are going to chase me. So that's what's kind of going on. He is kind of in control of what's happening out here. Doesn't have to follow any of the rules right now, but that's going to change when this vehicle comes to a stop. And the only thing we watching up here is we just hope it comes to a stop in a way where nobody is hurt, even that suspect. Law enforcement, they are not as lighthearted about that. Those officers that are in pursuit, I can assure you that they are very serious, very concentrated, very focused on what's going on around them, everything that they're watching, and they're keeping track of this guy as well. The speeds, they've been a little bit slower in this case. We're back at that 65 mark again. Officers from LAPD, they're still working on maybe perhaps trying to do something to bring this to a stop. As long as we're in the LAPD's area, they might be able to use spike strips even on the freeway. Will it happen? I would lean towards no, but there's always that possibility. These officers, though, they are PIT certified, so that might happen. Will it happen at 65 miles an hour on the 10 freeway? Probably not, but this chase does continue. That suspect, a dangerous suspect, stolen vehicle, we know that for a fact. He used that stolen vehicle to possibly harm an officer. And LAPD right behind him right now, and they wanted this thing to come to an end. This guy just kind of moving along. We're in the mid-cities area. We're probably passing La Brea. If we haven't passed it yet, we'll be here in just a moment. And speeds, 65 miles an hour. And
you just flew over that overpass. I did see some LAPD vehicles on top there assessing the situation. I imagine that they're kind of fanned out throughout this route here in paying, as you say, they're very focused and strategic, so they are probably marking exits themselves or just on alert as to where he could be possibly traveling, where he could possibly exit.
Oh, Pat, you and I both know enough law enforcement officers on a personal basis that we know that when the chase is going on, officers in the area will conveniently be around that area just in case it gets off the freeway or comes into their area that they're patrolling, and also to help fellow officers if there is an accident, if it does collide with somebody, if this guy gets out and runs. We know that officers from LAPD in this case will be around that car and in that neighborhood very, very quickly because they are listening. They're doing their job and they're keeping an ear on this, especially as it gets into the areas where they are patrolling. Right now, though, I keep hearing the word CHP coming across on the scanner. So I'm not sure if they're going to ask them to get involved or if they're just saying that, yeah, they are aware of the situation. But that is a possibility. Right now, though, we're going to be westbound 10 freeway, definitely going to be getting into the West Los Angeles area, Chavit Hills, sorry about that. But we haven't gotten off the freeway. He's staying in those center lanes. Let's see if he makes that big circle again or possibly northbound. But right now, this is almost what we would almost call a slow speed pursuit. 65 on the freeway, that's probably slower than I go driving home.
Well, I wonder if your wife is listening to you, Stu, talk about that. But I was going to say I'm probably guilty of the same thing at some point. But as you mentioned, he stayed in the center lanes. He has remained on the freeways. I would imagine that is by design. He's obviously thinking of his options himself, Stu, at this point, and probably knowing, yes, well, this is going to end at some time or another, so I'm going to drive maybe as long as I can, and I'm going to stay in the center lanes on these freeways. Don't really want to exit surface streets. Maybe they don't know the area as well, or figure that could be a much difficult situation for him at that point. So at this time, we're following this pursuit. Well, we're following you, Stu, and Brennan, of course, up in the chopper, and LAPD as they are following behind this driver in a stolen vehicle, a vehicle that LAPD had their eyes on for a while and were just waiting for the person to come and get back in the car. He did try to take off and apparently tried to run over a police officer, and the chase began. How long would you say we've been on this, Stu? I know you were on KCAL 9 earlier this evening. This has been going on for, what, about an hour?
Yeah, I would say we're probably right in that hour mark right now. And earlier on, he was on the surface streets. He was like La Cienega, and I heard the words La Tierra out there when we were trying to pin down where he was. And he made his way onto the 405. Now we're actually getting into that area right now, that West L.A., Culver City spot on the 10 freeway approaching the 405. So this might be the area that he's maybe more familiar with earlier on. We just don't know. But it's definitely getting back to that area where this thing started. And where we picked it up is basically off of La Tierra, getting onto the northbound 405. He drove it up into the valley, got off at Sherman Way, and everybody was getting kind of tense. When these chases get on those streets, it gets a little nerve-wracking. High speeds sometimes, running stop signs, running red lights, public at large, but he basically just got off and got back on and started heading southbound. This has been more or less a freeway chase for sure. LAPD right behind him, a number of officers, and they've been following along. That's a smaller vehicle. Who knows what he has for gas right now? I'm kind of wondering, as we're getting closer to the 405, what he's going to be taking. Brennan, this evening, because of the slower speeds, we can move around a little bit. We've gotten those shots in the front window. We've got him from the back. It's just we're just following along, getting the best pictures we can, keeping the public informed where we are.
Because he could go southbound or northbound. Right?
Yes, he can, and that's what we're doing. Or he could stay on the 10. We've seen them in the past make their way out to the ocean. In this case, though, it does seem like he's doing that almost to the right. There he goes. So we are going to be taking the 405. We'll see which way he goes here in just a second.
Okay. Well, as Stu's been talking, we've seen this guy on the 405 in both directions throughout the evening. So he apparently is taking the 405 freeway again, and in just a moment we will find out if he is taking it northbound or southbound.
Southbound.
It looks
definitely
like southbound.
Southbound. Yeah, southbound once again, and that's going to put us in that peculiar spot with Sky 2 and LAX's airspace. We'll see if they are accommodating to us the second time around. Right now, though, this chase just kind of continues, and the speeds, just about freeway speeds. This person just keeping officers from LAPD just about arm's length away. That's the best way to describe it. Basically 65, 60 miles an hour on the freeway. Looks like he might be preferring those center lanes once again. It does look like he's going off to the right. If he gets off the freeway, that'll be the first time we've seen it tonight. LAPD right behind him, though, that helicopter above. No talk at all about letting this go or handing this off to any other agency. So LAPD, they're going to hold on to it. They're going to keep this for themselves. How they're going to bring it to an end, we're going to see. They might be making plans right now. Southbound 405, this stolen vehicle, and of course this person, as we said earlier on, used that vehicle to inflict harm on LAPD officers earlier on this evening, and possibly also colliding with an officer's vehicle. Right now, though, this car continues. LAPD behind him, the helicopter above him. Southbound 405, Mar Vista area, as we're working our way back towards LAX and the 90 freeway.
And Stu, we should tell our viewers, just in case someone doesn't necessarily know, the FAA makes the decision as far as who can fly over LAX airspace. Am I right? That means not only you, Brennan, but also the LAPD chopper. I mean, that could be that makes it difficult for you to follow in that area because of the FAA regulations.
I'm trying to think of a word less than difficult right now. We follow the rules, and again, it's all about safety. They have those big jets coming in, the tower. Their concern are those hundreds of passengers on those jets. So yes, they will tell us to either go through the center of LAX, which is the safest way to pass across, and we'll use the camera in Sky 2 to follow along. Law enforcement, they have to follow the same rules.
Yeah.
So the helicopter will do that. The benefit for law enforcement, though, is they have a number of officers on the ground right behind that vehicle, and they have their radios, so they'll keep keep everybody posted where they're going. And when I say that, by no means is LAPD talking to us directly. They're talking to their guys on the ground, to making sure that officers know where this dangerous suspect is this evening. And it does seem like we're going to keep on the southbound 405. He is kind of leaning off to that right lane again, so I'm kind of wondering, perhaps is he going to get off the freeway? The 90 is approaching, but looks like there it is. He's going to stay southbound 405.
All right, yeah, the 90 certainly isn't a long freeway, is it? That's the Marina Del Rey area, so even if he got on the 90, he would certainly end up on surface streets very shortly after that. Stu, I've never asked during this entire time what kind of vehicle this is. I know you mentioned it was a small car, so we were hoping that he could be running out of gas soon.
Well, I think, again, I haven't heard them say it. A lot of times they'll always shout out what it is. I believe that this is going to be a Kia. Don't quote me on that. The Hyundai Sonata, perhaps. The vehicle, we don't know. We also know it doesn't have license plates on it. That's one of the reasons why the officers, even though it is stolen, they were thinking maybe they could follow it back, but it has what they call dealer plates on it. At this moment, I can tell you the driver definitely has some sort of device in his hand right there. You can see that glow from the phone. I don't know if he's following along, using the maybe texting friends, family, but right now he's using that phone and driving. But believe me, that's probably going to be the least of his concerns. Again, law enforcement not going to hit him up for driving while texting while driving, as dangerous as it is. That's not their concern. Their concern this evening is that this is a stolen vehicle and the driver used it as a weapon against law enforcement officers earlier on. That is what they want this guy to stop, and that is what his charges will be when it does come to an end. Hopefully, only that. Hopefully there won't be any type of major accident. I can tell you Sky 2 right now really starting to pick up some speed as we're going to be working our way to cross over LAX. I know we're going to lose the car on the freeway, but we'll probably be able to see the officers' lights and, of course, the helicopter, as this is going to be getting into the LAX airspace. Southbound 405, definitely going to be in the Westchester area as we enter LAX's airspace right now.
All right, well, Stu Mandel with Brennan at the controls there, trying to keep their eye as best they can on this stolen vehicle that is in Westchester now, heading southbound on the 405 freeway. We had mentioned this is a smaller vehicle, possibly a Kia stolen vehicle, and also wondering about some damage possibly to the left side, on the left-hand side of that vehicle. We know that he tried to run over a police officer. I'm wondering if that damage could be from that particular incident. So when Stu's back on with us, we can ask him that question again, because I'm curious, and we are going to stay with this right now. Stu, you still on the air?
Oh, most definitely. Just trying to keep an eye on it, looking for that light from the helicopter and officers' lights down there, the reds and blues on the southbound 405. I'm sure that everybody watching is saying, it's right there, it's right there. There it is, and we're watching as it's popping out. And, Pat, many times we watch these pursuits, and many times we can put the pieces of the puzzle together. In this case, I can tell you, I just don't get that warm and fuzzy that that dent was from the officer trying to be run over, or when that vehicle collided with the officer's vehicle. There's a busted window in the back of that car. It looks like some kind of plastic, temporary plastic is over it. So I honestly, on this one, I can't really say. There is definitely a dent on the driver's side, on the back part of the vehicle. The rear window is broken, but it does look like somebody tried to fix it. So what kind of damage was done? Was that officer injured? I'd like to know. I'm sure our assignment desk, they might have that information as well. We know that it started with an emergency, on an emergency channel. So officers were in a not I would never say any of our professional law enforcement is panicked, but they were in a situation where they were using the emergency channel. So it was a tight type of situation and a very heightened awareness type of situation. Southbound 405 approaching the 105 right now. This pursuit's continuing. We're out of the LAX area. Basically just made a big, huge circle. LAPD behind this vehicle, a stolen vehicle. We're working our way. It's going to be the 105 coming up here shortly. LAPD, they want this thing to come to an end. We heard earlier on that they might try something. We haven't seen that yet, though, Pat.
Yeah, so 105, and that could open up another realm of possibilities. The 605 freeway, possibly. He could take any kind of direction. He's been everywhere, basically. He could be heading toward Disneyland. We don't know that, and I'm just throwing that out there when you think of some of the freeways that he could take from the 105, if that's what he chooses to do.
Well, he seems to be, he really seems to like that 405 freeway because we're staying center lane right there, center. And you can see almost no other cars on the freeway. Don't know if that's by design or just coincidence. Just getting a little bit wider to see where the other cars are. There are some cars right there way ahead of it and some cars joining the freeway from the 105. This is going to be southbound 405, probably getting up on Imperial, Crenshaw area right now. He hasn't gotten off the freeway except for that one time to get back on the freeway. Don't know if he's just biding his time. These are his last moments of making his own decisions. LAPD right behind him. Speeds about 65 again. Is LAPD going to try to pit him on the freeway at 65? Most likely not. Especially if he's just kind of doing what he's been doing. He hasn't been driving too aggressively. He hasn't been threatening the public that much. But he has used that vehicle to try to inflict harm on a law enforcement officer. So that in mind, that means that if he's going to try to hurt an officer, he might hurt a civilian as well.
Okay, well, as you said, Stu, he has some options available to him, but he appears to continue on the 405 freeway southbound at this time and driving in the center lane. We are going to invite our viewers and your loyal listeners, Stu, to join you on CBS.
Reba is back.
Wow. Well, this thing is going forever. Where are we going to go? No more Hawthorne, no more LAX. I mean, we could do LAX, we could do Atlantic, right? This thing just goes and goes and goes. I'm not scared of East LA. I know a lot of people that live in. Oh, you mean the suspect? Okay, never mind. Well, Facebookers, I'm kind of with you for a little bit. You probably heard Brendan and I talking about fuel situation. Imagine that. Fuel. Can you imagine that? I know it's shocking to hear that the helicopter just doesn't go forever. I know. Just for you guys that are listening right now, we were up in Palmdale chasing another pursuit when this pursuit started. Roger's talking about, hey, why don't we just block the freeway? Well, what about everybody else that's out there on the freeway? That'll get blocked as well. Yeah, we got a fuel-efficient criminal on the loose. Where were these quotes earlier, guys? Yeah. So we're just watching along. We're keeping an eye on it. I don't ever wish that these things get crazy, but the reality is that this guy is just driving right now. If he's following along on Facebook down there, because I see the glow in the driver's seat, pull over, bring this thing to an end. If you just keep on going till you run out of gas, they're going to take you into custody then. Mike Fisher on Twitter right now. Doing the Charlie Brown. Good grief. Yeah, tell me about it, brother. Wah, 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 wah. Brennan's made the comment that if we could, we would try to stop it with the helicopter. No, he didn't. He would never do it. Yeah, just drag the tail rotor across him right there. But anyways, the chase continues. Where are we now? San Diego Freeway, Gardena area. Speeds, again, maybe about 70. LAPD, these guys all started with a full tank of gas. I'm going to get off the bad guy here just for a second, because I heard earlier on they were talking about California Highway Patrol coming in to maybe perhaps do something else. Now, are they going to pit them on the freeway? No, that's not the other thing that they're going to do. I don't know if they are going to work together like that, like say, hey, get that spike strip in position. Let's try to throw a spike strip in front of this guy on the freeway. I can't see that happening. If you guys know anything better than that, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Fuel is important, safety first. Tanya, you know, if this thing had a glide mode or maybe a solar panel, even at night, I'd risk it. Trust me. No, I wouldn't. You know, this is a very expensive helicopter, and Brennan needs his license to keep working and support his family. And I support Brennan in all his decisions, especially when safety and his license is concerned. Yeah. 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 Tide Pods. You believe me, brother. You gotta wonder. Eddie, if this is Eddie from Eddie and Andy, I gave you guys a shout out earlier. I did, man. I did. So, continuing on right now, this pursuit just, it's the pursuit that just keeps on giving in a way. What it's giving us, it's giving Brennan some overtime if this continues. He's just basically moving along out here on the freeway, doing what he's doing, and it's not that much. Keeping the officers at bay. This is a dangerous suspect, though. I can't take this one too lightly, because of the fact that, you know, he tried to, you know, it wasn't the heat of the moment. Whatever it was a very poor decision-making process, is the best way I can put it without saying anything too foul. I wanted, just so you guys know, I was trying to get up onto the periscope and just do a periscope from the helicopter real quick, but that's not going to happen. Since I have you guys here right now, and we are just following this awesome pursuit, let me talk about stringers just for a second. Tomorrow, for our podcast, we're actually going northbound 110 is our transition. Just letting you guys know, I'm going to, if you guys watch Shot in the Dark on the Netflix, great show. If you haven't watched it, watch it now or watch it tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to the three main dudes from the Shot in the Dark in the show, the Stringers. So that's going to be on the podcast. It'll be out on Friday. Where do you watch this podcast, you ask? Well, that's a great question. We are on, I think we just got on to, what is it, Justify. We got on to Stitcher. We're on iTunes. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at where we are right now. And, of course, CBS LA. I know you guys are watching us on CBS LA, so telling you guys to feed the machine. And anything CBS LA is probably, you know, it's like preaching to the choir. I'm sure you guys are all there right now. But hashtag CBS LA gets you to all the social media. I'm going to be interviewing some of the stringers from Shot in the Dark tomorrow. And that podcast will be out on Friday. So, huge shout out to them. I wonder how many passing shots they have gotten. I'm sure I'm going to ask them. So, just letting you guys know. So, northbound 110 freeway. Imagine that. Second time tonight. Brennan's keeping an eye on the fuel. We're going to figure that out the best we can. And what's it called, Jamie? What's what called? My podcast is Up in the Air with Stu Mandel. You can find it. You can find it on CBS LA, Stitcher, iTunes. What else we got? What did I miss? Where's he turning on to? Northbound 110 freeway. Brennan being real creative with the shots today, keeping us ahead of it, keeping us behind it. I actually appreciate that. Mark, what's up, buddy? Roads? Where we're going, we need no roads with Mr. Fusion. We are discussing that right now. Unfortunately, he's made this 110 turn that's going to make it difficult for us to get to a place with fuel quickly. I wonder if Hooper would fuel us. Hooper Heliport. I don't know if they're that friendly. But yeah, we're northbound 110 right now. We might be able to get to LAX, but any place we go right now, it's going to be a trek. The viewers at home are not going to be happy about that. Just letting you know. We got to think about the viewers from on the internet. They want to see how this ends. Brennan wants to see how this ends. He wants the overtime. Stu wants to see how this ends. I get no overtime. Well, I don't know what they're doing as far as LAPD. I haven't heard any of the secret plan for a while. This car just keeps on going. On the internet, I can tell you guys that they were talking about possibly even pitting this guy on the freeway through Rosecrans right now. This thing just keeps going and going. The officers are going to stay behind it. I hate this. You guys have no idea how much I hate this, but I mean, it's just the reality. It's the nature of the beast. We were up for a long time before this thing started, chasing another chase. So I don't want to hear you guys crying about how, oh, we ran out of gas again. We were out there doing it for you. I'm just joking, guys. I got nothing for love for everybody down there, and yes, I am just as frustrated. And I know when you guys write that stuff, you're frustrated as well. We're not leaving yet, but I can't see this thing taking some dramatic turn and just coming to an end here in the next about 10 minutes or so. The question is, are we going to get fuel and come back? That's the big question right now. Timmy, he is. It looks like he is going back to the original position. And I don't know why or what that's all about. So, frustrating. That's what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys all start doing the pit, if it's going to happen. Since we're on the internet, I can play with the camera a little bit, do all the magic that this thing can do, and get those super close tight shots. You got to realize with a shot like this, we're using half the. We're approaching the 105 right now, northbound 110. We're using the optical doubler, which takes away light, and we're also using the digital doubler, which takes away the pixels. So, really? Oh, I won't. I would never put that out there that they might be doing something to bring this to an end. So, or keep an eye on this, see what happens out here. Drive it like you stole it, because you did. I can't see them doing it, man. I'm just letting you know. There's no way. He's in the middle lane. What do you got? 5 lanes in each direction? Not a chance. Oh. They'd be better off trying just pitting him on the freeway. I've seen him do it in the past. I've seen LAPD do it in the past. That's what I'm saying. Well, everybody, this is get out the big magnet and pick them up. I don't know, man. I'm going to have to wash my hands after that. Martin Luther King, there's another off-ramp that they're talking about, Brennan. Martin Luther King. I would never say that anything that they should do anything, but Martin Luther King is what they're talking about a lot. Approaching Manchester right now, speeds, you know, I drive faster than everybody. Come on, except for Timmy, Pilot Timmy. I know he drives 65 religiously. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. I'm in the back of the helicopter, and you are at the assignment desk in Studio City. We're northbound 110 freeway approaching Manchester. Everybody that's telling me don't bail, believe me, and nobody wants to. Nobody wants to. Florence, passing Florence. I just used the power of SkyMap 9000. He seems to be getting over to the right. I mean, maybe he's going to get off the freeway. I don't know why. Maybe he's going to pull over and get gas. So, continuing on out there. What town is this? This is no town. This is the city of Los Angeles. Chase continues out here. This is a dangerous suspect. We've been kind of poking a little fun at the situation. Brendan and I have been over this since about the inception. We've been in the air for probably just under 2 hours, so maybe getting a little slap happy, which is not that professional, and I do apologize. Approaching Gage right now, northbound 110 freeway. Very light traffic this evening. Hopefully the stringers are out there, not watching this on the internet, and out there doing their jobs, getting those passing shots, getting behind it, getting their other stringer partners in position to get determination, because chances are I'm not going to be there. Marcos, I just saw you, and the first things I saw was LOL. Don't LOL me, Marcos. You could have been in the same position that you put your buddy Brennan in right now. Does seem like we're getting off the freeway. I don't know. This is, you know, this parking lot right there. If you guys watch Shot in the Dark, you know that parking lot. That's where they hang out. Looks like we're getting off the freeway here. I don't know if this is Manchester. They're going underneath the 110 freeway. This would be a spot where they could pin them. Just kind of putting that out there. Hopefully they won't do it under the freeway. But it does not look like they're going to. And looks like he's heading towards Figueroa, through Figueroa. Officers from LAPD keeping an eye on him. Now he is on surface streets. What surface street are we on, guys? Anybody? Bueller? 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 Slauson. 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 He's doing some funky stuff now. Be all on all the big ones. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Mark, go ahead, sir. Oh, sorry. I thought you were calling us. So I just got the heads up from our TOC. TOC standing for Technical Operations Center. They're the people that take in our picture. And those guys, they, you know, thank God they have a volume where they can turn me down and just keep an eye on the picture. But they're giving us heads up that Network is watching, and other outlets, meaning, you know, CNN and etc. This guy getting lucky with some of the lights out here. We're on Slauson right now, just kind of keeping this thing going. I do know that the spike strip word has been used. Not going to tell you where they're going to do it, but it may be coming up here. Westbound, just crossed Danker. California, the LAPD there right behind him. His speeds, let's just say, he was going slower than freeway speeds, but he's going faster than surface street speeds. Coming up here on Western, that was a solid red. That was very lucky that there was no traffic right there. There's a lot of construction out there as well. Slauson, oddly enough, is basically the border of where we can be with the helicopter. Looks like he's, that's not him. That's how tired I'm getting, guys. I'm sorry. We're continuing westbound on Slauson, LAPD in pursuit. Approaching Van Ness. Well, I was going to say, we can go to LAX. We're heading back to LAX. Yeah, definitely. Let's at least try. The slower speeds out here, construction area. There's a lot of other vehicles in this area, though. Is he going to try to pit him? I don't know. Looks like this first time we... 2nd Avenue, southbound 2nd Avenue from Slauson. This is one of the first times we've actually seen him in a neighborhood. So this is when things are going to start getting a little bit tighter. You can see there traffic, other vehicles on the roadway. You probably caught those tail lights just passing through the shot right now. Don't know why he picked this street. Possibly the street where he lives, possibly a neighborhood he knows. Odds of this guy getting away, extremely slim. LAPD out here in number. They have a number of vehicles behind them. They have the helicopter above them. They have other units, other vehicles, LAPD vehicles in the area. These slower speeds are giving these officers the opportunity to do that pit maneuver. Again, I'm not sure why they haven't. This is a suspect that tried to inflict bodily harm on a fellow law enforcement officer when this thing started. This is the area where this thing started. That's what we're hearing. The neighborhood where this started. So we'll see if he's going back to an area where possibly, I'm being serious about this, he might be thinking that this is an area where he can get to his vehicle. This was a stolen vehicle. It was being surveilled by officers from LAPD. Those officers, it's a common practice. They'll find a stolen vehicle, identify it as stolen, recently stolen, and they'll keep an eye on it just to see if the bad guys come back. In this case, the bad guy did come back. When the bad guy got back or arrived here, officers from LAPD approached him to take him into custody, and he used that vehicle in a desperate attempt to get away, but he either inflicted or was attempting to inflict harm to those officers with that vehicle, and that's when everything changed. This isn't just a straight stolen vehicle. Now it's assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer. He took that stolen vehicle and the pursuit started. The vehicle that we see right behind him there basically has been behind this vehicle from the get-go since this thing started. They are talking about this might be the area where this thing started. It is the area where it started. The reason why they're talking about that, is this an area that this person knows? Is this an area where he drove to get to back to this vehicle? Is there another vehicle in this area? We'll see. I can tell you for all the affiliates that may be watching our shot, moving back and forth between other shots that they have shots of, I got to tell you, we are running low on fuel, giving you guys heads up. We might have to go. Florence Boulevard, approaching Van Ness, that's where we are. Approaching Western right now. Eastbound Florence, approaching Western. So basically he's making big circles out here. They're asking for canine units right now, so if he gets out and runs, they will have... it's not going to work, guys. Making a sharp turn. Speed's picking up a little bit. I wonder if he has some information where he might actually know that they might be able to get behind him to do that pit maneuver. Florence and Normandy is roughly the area. You can see LAPD, they've actually swapped out helicopters. So it gives you an idea how long we've been in the air. LAPD swapping out, is this the second helicopter they've had over him this evening. Keeping that wide shot just to show something other than the vehicle that they're pursuing. LAPD right behind him. They are trying to be a little bit more aggressive to bring this thing to an end. Vehicle stopped here trying to get out of the way. That's what they're supposed to do. Back down, I believe that's going to be 4th Avenue again. Not 100%, but southbound gauge from Western being corrected. But this chase continues. Speed's a little bit faster. Tenseness picking up out here. Possibly this guy running out of fuel, running out of options. Again, assault with a deadly weapon, that would be the vehicle on a law enforcement officer earlier this evening. LAPD has been in pursuit of this vehicle for over 90 minutes. And we can still keep on going out here, watching the best we can. Back to my friends here on Facebook, to approaching a T intersection. You know, everybody out here, I'm just letting you guys know on Facebook that we want to stay with it. We're going to stay with it as long as we can, but you know, we can't. I can't get out and pedal. That's or push. Just letting you guys know. Time to pit, Heidi. You know it. Time to pit was a while ago. What are you talking about? This thing continues on out here this evening. LAPD doing an amazing job keeping this guy safe from the public. But how long can we stay behind it? It's going to get tight. Approaching Florence, but he's got green lights again all along here. It does seem that he's starting to make these blocks, so we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see if they can use those spike strips, but even if they do, it's going to be a good 5 minutes or so. My pause right there, not for any other reason than I need to get a drink of water. I'm hearing all of those. I'm not shouting them out, man. Oh, look at that. They didn't make it. That's the spike strip right there. Didn't make the spike strip. He actually went around it. But he's got to know that they're trying. So we're going to keep an eye on it. I don't know. Is that car leaning, or is it just the road, or it's just wishful thinking? They may try this again. His speed's picking up a little bit after they've tried that. Just hope he doesn't get that desperate run those red lights type of situations. I don't want to see any of the public get hurt out here. Approaching Normandy right there. You can see a number of officers. No spike strips. Went right through. No spike strips at that one. So the chase continuing out here. Looks like we're working our way back to the freeway, which is not that fantastic for the crew out here in Sky 9 this evening. Brennan doing what he can to conserve fuel. That means lower power settings and etc. But there's only so much you can do. And unlike a car, we can't get out and push or call AAA. We actually got to fly to that fuel pump. So my phone been locked up here for a while. Sorry if I can't answer any of your questions. You know I love to interact with you guys. I'm going to try to reboot it just to say the goodbyes that are coming up, guys. I'm sorry, man. Letting you guys know also for the internet folk, I'm going to be interviewing the Stringers tomorrow on my podcast. That's going to be coming up on Friday. What's a stringer? Come on, guys. You guys watch Shot in the Dark. You know what a stringer is. So keep an eye out for that. We love the love. And even on the podcast, we got to know you're out there. Got to know that you're watching. Looks like we're turning on southbound on Flower. That officer getting really close right there. I don't know if he's going to try to do that pit maneuver or not. The opportunity definitely there. Definitely on Flower. My boss is calling me. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Florence, southbound Flower from Florence. Looks like he's choosing an on-ramp, which is going to be the southbound 110. So we're back up onto the freeway right now. They're letting the CHP know. That doesn't mean they're going to let him take it over. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get my, stop with the social media, Stu, and run that camera. For gosh sakes. Guys, I feel my heart sinking knowing that I'm going to let all you guys down and we're not going to be able to see how this thing ends. Again, no excuses, but we were up earlier chasing a pursuit up in the Antelope Valley. If you guys are local, you know that is like pretty much the other side of the planet as far as Los Angeles is concerned. I live out there. I'm not putting anybody down. And Brennan grew up out there, so Brennan's feelings were hurt. He and I are going to have to go to counseling. We're going to go to counseling later on and talk it out. Maybe we'll hug it out on the ramp or later on. But poor Sky 9, we've been up here pushing it the whole time, and we're going to be running out of fuel here shortly. Sadly, that guy in that car not running out of fuel as far as we can tell. But we're going to keep the shot as long as we can. If he takes the 105 and starts heading back towards LAX, that might be a benefit-ish for us. But it doesn't look like he's choosing the 105. It looks like he doesn't like the 105 for some reason. Maybe he had a bad experience there at some point. But we are continuing to follow along here. You can see other vehicles not knowing what to do. When law enforcement gets right by you and you hear those lights and sirens, what you do is you pull to the right. Just a courtesy from Sky 9. Looks like we're southbound 110, even though they're saying they don't know. I'm telling you, it's going to be southbound 110 freeway from the 105. And we're continuing on, and you can see that vehicle continuing to make the move. Don't know if we're going to make that move westbound 105 here for fuel. So guys and gals on the internet, I hate to say it to you, but it does look like we are bringing this to an end. My heart goes out to you. Send your hate mail to Eurocopter, or now Airbus, for not making a more fuel-efficient aircraft. That's me being lighthearted. I'm sorry, guys. We've been on Facebook for an hour and a half, and I see the numbers. Sorry, guys. We're going to be leaving. I'll keep the shot best we can. We'll be listening. The question is, are we going to get fuel and rejoin it? I don't know. That's the answer for right now. If you guys are out there, hashtag CBS LA, that's the machine. They always like to know that you're out there. I don't know what you can say about the helicopter running out of fuel, but believe me, we do the best we can as long as we can. And of course, we're going to be watching the stringers, so I'm going to be talking to the stringers tomorrow. And they're going to be making fun of me for not being able to follow it to the end. But we can only do what we can do. Timmy, what's that? Oh, thank you, Timmy. It's the greatest pilot in the air is what you should write. He said the greatest helicopter in the air, and I said it's the greatest pilot. Some of my friends on Twitter are out there right now. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. Stu_Mandel, Rotorhead8, that's my pilot. Send your hate mail, though, to Eurocopter, not to us, man. We got nothing to do with the fuel consumption in the helicopter. And we'll see if we can rejoin it. CHP is going to be setting up for some spike strips on the freeway, so we'll see where this goes. Guys and gals out there, sorry, man. That's all I can say. I love you guys. Sorry about this. As you know, as we depart, I'm going to give you guys a scanner just for a little bit. You can listen to what we're listening to as we're flying off into the sunset.
Is that back on the 3?
Yeah.
Number 3 lane, southbound 110.
Even the scanner's getting quiet. Yeah.
110 approaching a longer.
And for the guys and gals that are holding on, hope for that. We're going to be landing here at Atlantic. We're going to be getting fuel. If we can get back, we'll try. If not, thank you guys. You know, I personally love the love, but we can only do what we can do. I love all the positive vibes, but you know what? You got to know inside, I am cussing up a storm right now.
Go to the 91 standby
no idea. And I'm not mad at anybody. I'm mad at the situation. I'm an adult. I know what the deal is. What's the frequency of what we're listening to?
Committed. And looks like she's back in the L1.
Attack 3.
Turn the 91.
3. That's what I'm putting out over the air for you
guys. The 91 in the number 1 lane.
But we are done for right now. We'll let you know. I'll try to give you guys heads up if we're coming back. If we're not, good night, everybody.
All right, well, they're going off 405. North. Now on the northbound 405 from the southbound 110.
Northbound 405. He's coming to us. Maybe he's going to